There are many more like this. First of all, let me clarify that Central Bureau of Investigation is a different cup of tea. Central Bureau of Investigation is not like any other police agency in the country. CBI has a method, has a process which is respected nationally, and that's why probably each and every one of these, any serious crime, any serious problem, they look for CBI. This is impossible in CBI. It doesn't happen in CBI at all. And of course, number one. Number two, SIT was a very heavily guarded place. The SIT was in a place called Malligai. Malligai was a building which is shown in this entire episode in a big way. It's a big building, it's a big house, which was specially hired by SIT for SIT. Nearly 300 people were there in that building. It was guarded by 2 companies of CRPF. All the time, Intelligence Bureau officers, RAW officers, and variety of agencies used to be there. And whatever has been shown inside Malligai, which is totally impossible. So this is what it is. So the distortions being shown, the distortions in the storyline, the entire situation where the third degree is being applied like this, the worst kind of third degrees are being shown here. I very strongly dispute it. CBI disputes it. I have spoken to Director CBI himself, and all these facts are being connected to him. So obviously, I did not talk about these things which I have done. Friends, along with me, Amitabh Srivastava, I am very thankful to him that he has organized it with my friends Ishita and Nivedita and all of you. I am thankful to Manik Sabharwal. He is a very important person sitting here. General Manik Sabharwal, he was nationally known expert on explosives in 1991 as major, and then he was especially seconded to our body. We worked together. Within 2 to 3 days after the incident, he was there with us, and he retired as a general in the army and sitting there. He will tell his own story, how did he see the entire investigation. Investigation unfolded in his presence. He was party to it. General Manik Sabharwal, he is there. Rajan Raj is our lawyer, and he is the one who has sent the notice to those parties. They have partly responded in the sense that they are buying time. They want us not to proceed further and take legal action. That's what they have said. So some legal points he'll be talking about it. Friends, I would like to narrate this story. That's all. I think that will be a good thing to do. That was 21st, 22nd night, 1991. And then it all came to light next morning, 22nd May 1991. I had just joined CBI about 20 days back. Prior to that, I was closely to Home Minister. That time, Chandrasekhar was Prime Minister and Home Minister, and Mr. Subodh Kant happened to be MOS. In that capacity, I had a chance to go to Tamil Nadu, assisting them. And that was the time, because of these LTT activities and huge violence taking place in Tamil Nadu, Tamil Nadu came in President's rule, partly because of these incidents. I mean, prior to Rajiv Gandhi case, that was in January 1991. And then I joined CBI, as I said, 5 months later, in May 1991. 22nd May 1991, that is soon after, I was at the airport attending somebody. I got a call from Mr. Vijaykaran, Director CBI. Mr. Vijaykaran told me that, Amur, you have to go to Madras. It was Madras that time, not Chennai. And he said that he was supposed to lead the investigation. So along with explosive expert, Mr. Sabharwal, who joined soon after, Mr. Amit Verma, who is one of the main investigators in this case, who happened to be from Tamil Nadu, who joined me at Madras Airport. And there is something called Central Forensic Science Lab, CFSL. The experts of CFSL also joined hands. So a complete team, we arrived on 23rd. And on 23rd, we took over this case. The formal taking over of the case was between 23rd and 24th of May 1991. The system is that FIR which gets registered in the local place has to be converted into a regular case by CBI. It's called RC. So our RC got registered on 24th morning, and 23rd, 24th we took over the case. When we reached Tamil Nadu, that is 50 kilometers from Madras to Sri Perambur, where Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, the scene of crime was intact. If you look at this entire episode, you will find something very outrageous. There is a gentleman called Mr. Chandrasekharan, who was the director of Tamil Nadu Forensic Science Lab. he is being projected as if he was the investigator, as if he was running the show. None of it. Manik is here. In fact, Manik Sabharwal was far more important than Chandrasekharan there also, and that's why he's here. The scene of crime was totally intact, let me inform you. Mr. R.K. Raghavan, who was that time IG of that area, who became a very celebrated director CBI subsequently, you might have heard his name, Mr. R.K. Raghavan. Mr. R.K. Raghavan himself was protecting the scene of crime. The scene of crime was not allowed to be disturbed at all. The only thing which had happened that there was a camera lying near the dead body of someone who was very close to Rajiv Gandhi and Dhanu, who killed herself to kill Rajiv Gandhi. And that camera was got picked up by Mr. R.K. Raghavan. It was sent to a local photographer. It was taken out in the dark room, and 10 photographs were developed out from that camera's film, which was exposed already. And those were the crucial photographs which ultimately led to this case being worked out, and ultimately a lot of things happened. That was Hari Babu's camera, the famous Hari Babu's camera, if you follow this case. So this particular thing was there, and we had no knowledge about it. That such and such photograph had been developed already. We had no knowledge. 24th morning, to our utter surprise, to our great surprise, we see in the Hindu newspaper, nothing against Hindu. They published it because they got it. The Hindu newspaper publishes the photograph of this suicide bomber, this girl who was later found to be Dhanu. Her name came out to be Dhanu. And her photograph was various there in the newspaper, even before the local police, that is Tamil Nadu police or the CBI had taken over. It was clandestinely given to the newspaper by Mr. Chandrasekharan, the director of the Tamil Nadu Forensic Science Lab, causing a big setback to the case. That is how it started. Now, in the very beginning, I would like to narrate that as a matter of policy, CBI officers, they follow a process. And I was a thoroughgoing CBI officer, and I used to investigate many cases. So we decided to find out the previous cases of similar character. And we learned that on 15th of June 1990, that is 11 months prior to this incident, there was a very, very sensational case called K. Padmanabha case. In fact, as you know that Prabhakaran, who was the chief of LTT, he had a rival called K. Padmanabha. And Padmanabha happened to be the chief of another organization called EPRLF. And EPRLF, we were protecting. Government of India was protecting EPRLF because Padmanabha was extremely violent, LTT was extremely violent, and they were not violent, they were peace-loving kind of people, so they were kept in Madras. Now, Prabhakaran got Padmanabha killed on 15th June 1990. It was a very sensational crime. Nearly 15 persons were killed, 12 persons were killed on that scene of crime. There was bomb blast, explosion was there, firing was there. After that, when these people were going away, that is the person who led it, that one-eyed fellow, you must have heard about it, the main person was a fellow called Shivrasan, ultimately known to be Shivrasan. And he had one eye, because one eye he had lost in some bomb blast earlier. And he was the main person behind the entire thing. He was the main conspirator, main perpetrator leading this entire gang. So what happened really, which we learned later, that he is trying to escape from scene of crime in an ambassador car. A little distance from there, Vilupuram is a place where Padmanabha, where a gentleman called Thomas Charles was going along with his mother in his Maruti van, and Shivrasan and team who killed Padmanabha, and they were going there, they hijacked his vehicle, on the way dropped him there, and they went away and finally escaped to Jaffna. I mean, this is what happened. So this particular case, we learned about it very soon. I mean, within 2-3 days of the incident, we learned about it. One Mr. Raghvachari, who was the DYSP. I'm telling it all because in my book it is all written. This book I published, Bloomsbury. So Raghvachari had told us, giving the name of that witness who was picked up by the same people and taken to a distance and deserted them somewhere. So that is what it happened. And then, so they could show the photograph which came in the Hindu newspaper, and then we learned about the photograph. And Thomas Charles identified the photograph to be most likely the same person who was in Padmanabha case, also happens to be the main person in Rajiv Gandhi case. So that is how it went off. The other point is that about the same time, the Director CBI, Mr. Vijay Karan, the Additional Director CBI, Mr. S.K. Datta, and the SIT chief, Mr. Karthikeyan, who joined later because Mr. Karthikeyan happened to be an IG in the CRPF, and obviously he had to join the CBI subsequently. They had gone to Sri Lanka. While they went to Sri Lanka, there the Sri Lankan government, the Sri Lanka military intelligence gave a name called Shivraj Master. They gave a name called Shivraj Master. Meanwhile, while we were conducting investigation in Madras, the Intelligence Bureau gave a name called Raghuvaran. And meanwhile, there was a name we discovered who was called Shivrasan by the LTT. So Shivrasan, Shivraj Master and Raghuvaran happened to be the same person, and the case got worked out. The case was really worked out, and the girl who committed suicide, because there was a belt bomb, which was about which Manik will talk about it. There was a belt bomb, and then it exploded. And the method was that she got a garland and she tried to garland. She garlanded Rajiv Gandhi like this. That belt bomb had two toggles. One toggle was ignited earlier. The second toggle, as she bent to touch his feet, Rajiv Gandhi's feet, the toggle, she pressed it and it exploded and they died. This is what it is. I mean, this is how it happened. This case got worked out subsequently. By the time Mr. Karthikeyan and Mr. Vijay Karan Datta came from Sri Lanka, we had enough evidence for it. Since this case became so important, a lot of information started pouring in the Ballige. Ballige was the name of the place where we had our office. And actually there was a mismatch. The problem arose that Mr. Karthikeyan, in its own wisdom, decided to divide the team into parts. So my part was, I was DIG investigation, and the other was DIG tracking and intelligence. He is also known as Vinod Raju, an outstanding officer of Jammu and Kashmir cadre, who was also inducted to this team, like Mr. Karthikeyan came to this team. Along with me were 4 outstanding officers. Mr. Amit Verma, a brilliant officer about whom a lot of good things have been said in this episodes also. The second was Mr. Tyagarajan, who was very important. Mr. Tyagarajan is the person who recorded the Tada confessional statements. You must have heard recently in the case in Bombay, what has happened, that train blast cases, where the High Court has rejected Tada's statements because torture was there. Because they did not find Tada's statements to be in order, because it was extracted forcibly from them. Here, Mr. Tyagarajan was not at all part of the investigation, because the part of the investigation where I have mentioned it, Amit Verma was there, the other gentleman was Manohar, he was there, and Mr. C. Subramaniam. These 3 IPS officers, and the 4th was K. Raghuttaman, who was the chief investigating officer. So this team did exceedingly well. The only gap was that since the intelligence team and the tracking team, which was working parallelly, they were getting information, and that information was somehow not getting shared with our team. So this gap really created some problem, and the first person who could be arrested was the mother of Nandini, who was the main person ultimately, and she was called Padma, she was a nurse, and the father was sub-inspector of police. Mother and brother, they got arrested on 11th of June, and 14th of June, Nandini was arrested along with Durgan. Now the story is like this, that Prabhakaran, the top man of LTT, along with a character called Potu Aman happened to be the intelligence chief of LTT, and a lady called Akila happened to be the Tigris chief. They together decided to kill Rajiv Gandhi. The decision to kill Rajiv Gandhi goes back to the time when in 1987, Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, and Rajiv Gandhi decided to intervene in Sri Lanka affairs on account of Jayawardene, and IPKF went to Sri Lanka. A lot of wrong things happened, and there was a lot of problem with IPKF. And then it was believed that if Rajiv Gandhi comes back to power in 1991, again he will do the same thing. So Prabhakaran and team LTT thought that his coming back to power would be disastrous, and in all probability Rajiv Gandhi was going to become the Prime Minister of India. He was already ascending in his popularity, and then it was very clear that he is going to become Prime Minister, and hence Prabhakaran decided to kill him. Prior to that, he had his own problems. IPKF के खिलाफ ये वो की शिकायतें थी, वो एक अलग कहानी है. So ultimately, this is what happened. So Prabhakaran Pottu Aman, Akila, they selected Shivrasan. Shivrasan because he had killed Padmava earlier, number one. Secondly, he was a known person who knew how to really carry exercise like this, and he was a known person and very close to Prabhakaran. Now Shivrasan brought 3 girls. He brought 3 girls to be used as suicide bombers. If one fails second, otherwise third. So Dhanu, unfortunately for them or unfortunately, Dhanu killed herself and killed Rajiv Gandhi. Had Dhanu not succeeded, along with Shivrasan was a girl called Shubha, who was traveling with him. And finally they committed suicide, as you know, after nearly 3 months. And the third girl happened to be Athirai. Athirai was a very young girl, hardly 17, 18 years old. And Athirai was kept in Delhi. There was a safe house in Delhi where Athirai was kept. And the objective was that in case this entire operation fails in Tamil Nadu, Athirai with his safe house and a grandfather along with her and some other people will be doing the same job here in Delhi. And it is about Athirai who I arrested. You must have seen that I am sitting over the young girl's body and I am arresting her. It is that Athirai in Delhi because she had a safe house in Delhi. And we learned about that she will be coming and we tracked her from railway station to a Paharganj hotel. I was there all night, but it was my team. I never sat like this, never behaved like this. So Athirai was there. Women team was also there. So this is how it happened. And the case gradually got worked out, except that the entire process of hunt, which they are trying to say, there was nothing wrong in the investigation. Investigation went on very well. We were able to collect enough evidence. There was a gap in the intelligence and information being acted upon, on account of which some of these people started going away, and Shivrasan, along with Shubha, along with Murugan, along with Nalli, all these people started moving all over the team. Finally, to cut it short, this case was charge sheeted and they were party to it for nearly 1 year. I was in Madras. 1992, the case was charge sheeted. 1994, the trial started and trial went out in 1998. In 1998, the Tada court decided to give death sentence to all 26 persons. It is very strange. I mean, personally, I was never convinced about it. Because among these people, I would say that only 7 persons or 5 persons could be said to be privy to the conspiracy. And conspiracy is not something done in the open. So anyway, the court decided to give death sentence to 26 persons. Out of 41 persons who had been charge sheeted, 12 had died already. Okay. And 3 persons had named Prabhakaran, Akila and Pottu Aman. They were declared absconders because they were in Jaffna, they could not be arrested. So it happened. Now when the matter went to Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of India finally in 1999 decided to uphold the death sentence of only 4 persons. 4 persons, Nalli being one of them, because Nalli was the person who had actually harbored them. Nalli had gone along with Shubha and Shivrasan to Sriperumbudur. Nalli was throughout along with Shubha and Dhanu, and she helped Dhanu in preparing herself to become a bomber. So Nalli's participation was very, very deep into it, and she was deep into conspiracy, and that's why Nalli was also given death sentence. And as you know, Priyanka Gandhi and Mrs. Gandhi's family decided to give them amnesty, and Nalli came out of it. So Nalli was one of them. Shantan, and she was pregnant, because she got married to Murugan. Murugan is another character. Then Shantan is a character who came along with Shivrasan, along with Dhanu and Shubha. When they came in a boat, after designated to do this kind of work by Prabhakaran long back, and they came on exactly 30th of April 1991. Can you imagine that 30th April they land up and 21st May they kill Rajiv Gandhi in such a short time? And the kind of conspiracy, the kind of implementation they did about their plan is something unthinkable. It was really a unique case from that point of view. So the 4 persons where their death sentence was accepted by the Supreme Court of India, and other 4 persons and other 3 persons, they were given life sentence. And ultimately, out of 26 persons, besides these 4 persons and 3 persons, the rest all were let off. Because Supreme Court of India thought that they were not party to conspiracy. At best, they were harbourers. At best, they had some role to play. So Supreme Court took and let them off. It's most unfortunate though that in a case like this, ultimately in 2022, because of delay in the processes by the governor and by, let's say, President of India, everybody was let off. So whoever were surviving in this case, they were let off. The most unfortunate part, which has been portrayed in this series also, was the hunt, as they call it. And the hunt concluded on 19th of August. That is 21st of August, 21st, 22nd, Rajiv Gandhi was killed, and 19th of August, all these people, 7 of them, 7 persons who were wanted criminals, they got closeted in a house near Bangalore. Kunankutte is the place, name of the place. In Kunankutte, closeted in a house. Unfortunately, there was a delay in raiding the house, which is shown in this web series also. And then all these guys committed suicide. All of them, Shivarasan shot himself, all others took cyanide and they died. So the story was over. Friends, the point I am trying to make here is, without repeating whatever has been told by Ishita and by Nivedita, I stand by it. A lot of things are written in my press release, I stand by it, they are all very important. The point remains that it's outrageous. Not only that, they have insulted me, defamed me, brought down my image. My entire life has been different. You guys know most of you, and you know who am I. Am I the person to do it? That's the basic question. Am I somebody who is going to torture? I have always stood against any kind of torture. I am a known human rights defender in my career. I run this organization, Prayas, which looks after thousands and thousands of people. So it's a very different kind of situation. And as Ishita explained, the law of defamation very much applies on it. This is what it is.